I've just returned from an extraordinary encounter with Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. It was her first Australian interview in 8 years, so I was looking forward to our meeting. But as I soon discovered, the Duchess has two very different sides.
Sarah Ferguson's glittering world of charm and philanthropy has suddenly collided with financial turmoil. Reports indicate that the Duchess's extravagant shopping habits, lavish banquets, and even a strange Bitcoin mining scheme in Nevada have spiraled into a full-blown crisis. Friends are reportedly shocked, insiders hint at betrayal, and the palace is said to be quietly alarmed. This time, Fergie's fortune hasn't just disappeared, it may reveal a royal secret the crown never intended to surface. Was it reckless spending, poor financial guidance, or something more sinister behind her growing debts? The Duchess, who once confused fantasy for fortune, began from humble beginnings. Before the jewels, photo ops, and royal splendor, Sarah Ferguson lived a simple life, openly sharing memories of cleaning ski chalets in Switzerland, scrubbing bathrooms, and serving pastries in a small cafe. No one could have imagined that this cheerful redhead would one day marry a prince. But in July 1986, she did just that. Her marriage to Prince Andrew, the Queen's second son, was a televised fairy tale filled with glamour, prestige, and the illusion of endless wealth. Yet behind the smiles and ceremony, the fantasy was already cracking. Insiders later revealed that Sarah entered royal life believing that marrying into the monarchy meant financial security. She quickly discovered that the Duke and Duchess of York were often strapped for cash, and the royal family did not pay for private indulgences. That illusion of effortless luxury unraveled almost immediately. Shortly after her wedding, she returned from New York on a first-class flight, making headlines not for her charm, but for her luggage. Over 50 suitcases were checked in, containing $33,000 worth of purchases, including a single teddy bear that cost $515. The excess baggage fee alone neared $1,000, an enormous sum for the 1980s. Even airport staff were stunned, with one handler reportedly saying, "Not even Joan Collins travels like this." Palace aides were horrified, and though no one confirmed who covered the bill, whispers spread fast. The new Duchess was out of control. That extravagance was only the beginning. Over time, Sarah developed a reputation for excess. Staff recalled her traveling with up to 25 suitcases and spending between $800 and $4,000 in baggage fees just to transport her belongings. She even packed trunks solely for hangers. Insiders described her private life as lavish beyond belief. Meals at the Yorks' residence became legendary, with former staff claiming she demanded nightly feasts featuring entire roasts of beef, lamb legs, and whole chickens. Her annual spending reportedly hit $860,000, including $150,000 on gifts, $50,000 on flowers, and another $50,000 on entertainment. Personal trainers, stylists, and wellness coaches waited hours for her, charging hundreds per session. As debts piled up, her royal image dimmed, and commentators called her a woman torn between charisma and chaos, someone with little financial discipline and an insatiable appetite for more. Could Sarah Ferguson's unrestrained lifestyle and reckless spending finally destroy everything she has left? Or is another shocking comeback just around the corner? By the early 1990s, her fairy tale had evaporated. Behind the smiling photos, Sarah's debt had reached crisis level, reportedly totaling $4 million owed to Coutts Bank, Britain's elite private institution. When her marriage to Prince Andrew collapsed in 1996, her finances fell apart too. Rather than adopting a modest lifestyle, Sarah refused to scale back. Those close to her said she couldn't imagine living without the luxuries she had grown used to. The grand estates, designer fashion, and constant staff. Instead, she leaned on Andrew emotionally and financially. Their bond, though no longer romantic, became a tangled dependency, what author Tina Brown described as a destructive mutual reliance. When Fergie faced ruin, Andrew rescued her. When Andrew's image faltered, she publicly defended him. But that fragile alliance couldn't last. After King Charles ascended the throne, he moved to distance the monarchy from scandal, stripping Andrew of his remaining titles and urging them both to leave Royal Lodge, their Windsor home. The safety net that had shielded Sarah for years vanished overnight. With funds dwindling, she turned again to business and soon stumbled into one of her most disastrous ventures, cryptocurrency. In 2019, Pegasus Group Holdings launched a grand $3 billion plan to build a solar-powered Bitcoin mining hub in Mojave County, Arizona, dubbed the Hive. As part of its promotion, they enlisted Sarah Ferguson as a brand ambassador. She praised the project's visionary leadership, and claimed she was thrilled to join their mission. For her role, she reportedly earned $200,000 upfront with the promise of $1.2 million more if successful. But success never came. Pegasus collapsed amid fraud claims and lawsuits, accused of diverting investor funds and never building the promised facilities. By 2023, an arbitration panel ordered Pegasus to pay $2.5 million in damages, and by 2024, further lawsuits accused it of being a sham from the start. Once again, Sarah's name was entangled in scandal, reinforcing her reputation for disastrous choices. Around that time, she quietly sold her Belgravia townhouse at a loss, from $425 million to $3.85 million in 3 years. Her team insisted it was for her daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, but critics saw a familiar pattern: reckless spending, poor investments, and a desperate attempt to profit from fading royal fame. That glow of glamour was fading fast, leaving only financial ruin and whispers of darker truths. So, what truly pushed Sarah Ferguson from royal luxury to repeated collapse? Bad luck, unchecked ambition, or something far more dangerous? The Duchess of Excess has finally reached a breaking point. Once the epitome of charm and celebrity, she now stands amid the wreckage of her own extravagance. The woman who once demanded medieval-style banquets now faces the grim reality of decades of mismanagement. The estates, designer wardrobes, and glittering parties are gone, replaced by debts, strained ties, and failed ventures. Palace insiders say her downfall was inevitable. One royal source summed it up coldly: she was a reckless spender married to a man with far less money than she believed, and she never recovered from that. Truth. That harsh truth defines Sarah Ferguson's story. A woman who mistook proximity to royalty for guaranteed fortune. Time and again, she's tried to rebuild her image through charity, emotional interviews, and business schemes, only to fall back into the same traps. Her career beyond royalty reads like a list of contradictions: self-help books, wellness products, lifestyle brands, all ambitious, all ending in confusion or quiet embarrassment. She launched diet plans she didn't follow, wellness brands she couldn't sustain, even candles and teas under the nostalgic glow of royal branding. Critics saw desperation more than passion, an endless attempt to turn notoriety into survival. Those who worked with her described big promises and minimal results, a cycle of reinvention that never quite landed. One biographer quipped that Fergie would endorse a fridge magnet if the check cleared, a cruel but accurate summary. Each venture carried the same hope, that this time she'd succeed and restore her image. But each failure chipped away at her credibility. The Duchess, once adored for her warmth and humor, had become a cautionary tale about how fame, when mismanaged, can turn into ruin. Still, one question remains. Has Sarah Ferguson finally hit her limit, or will she reinvent herself yet again? For decades, she's bounced back from scandal after scandal, reinventing herself as a charity worker, motivational speaker, and lifestyle guru. Even in disgrace, she finds a way to resurface, whether through sympathy, curiosity, or sheer persistence. But after losing Royal Lodge, facing collapsing deals, and being tied to financial disasters, the question looms: can Fergie's resilience save her once more, or has her luck finally run out? Before the wellness brands and failed ventures came the scandal that shattered her last shred of royal dignity. In 2010, hidden cameras caught Sarah Ferguson offering access to her ex-husband, Prince Andrew, for $500,000 to someone she believed was a wealthy businessman. Her words were incriminating. "That opens up everything you'd ever wish for," she said with a nervous laugh, unaware she was being recorded. When the footage surfaced, the world was stunned. Overnight, headlines exploded, and talk shows ridiculed her fall from grace. The former Duchess, once a royal bride, now caught appearing to sell introductions to a prince. Queen's son reduced to a door-to-door broker. That was the shocking image that defined the scandal. Her defense came quickly but unsteadily. Appearing on Oprah Winfrey's sofa just days later, Sarah Ferguson broke down in tears, claiming she had been desperate and intoxicated, trapped by years of poor choices and relentless financial pressure. She spoke about shame, regret, and the deep financial hole that had driven her to the edge. But for the royal family, the damage was done. No amount of apology could erase the image of a duchess trading royal access for money. The palace immediately distanced itself, closing ranks to protect its image. In that single moment, Fergie's fragile credibility shattered into infamy. Yet somehow, she couldn't walk away from the public eye. For Sarah, fame wasn't a burden, it was a necessity. She once admitted that she thrived on being seen, that public attention made her feel alive. Even after years of humiliation, she continued chasing it with reckless persistence. Red carpets, reality TV, interviews, and talk show appearances became her comfort zone. No matter how many scandals erupted, she always resurfaced before the cameras, smiling as if nothing had happened. But insiders claim that behind the grin was a deep insecurity, a constant need to prove herself worthy of the royal life she lost. Many within palace circles believed she lived forever in Princess Diana's shadow, haunted by comparisons that were both cruel and relentless. Diana remained adored, immortalized as the people's princess, while Fergie became a running joke in the tabloids. That contrast followed her as she tried to rebuild her image through books, children's stories, memoirs, and self-help titles. Critics accused her of exploiting her royal connection again. What she called resilience, others called opportunism. She herself once divided her identity into two sides. Good Fergie, open and honest about her mistakes, and bad Fergie, her words, who made poor choices and repeatedly landed in scandal. Supporters viewed her as misunderstood, a woman struggling to stand on her own after being crushed by fame. But those who worked closely with her described something different: impulsiveness, extravagance, and self-sabotage. One former staff member said she could switch from delightful to impossible in seconds. Through every scandal, every tearful apology, and every attempt at reinvention, one question persisted. Was Sarah Ferguson a victim of circumstance or the author of her own downfall? And could her relentless pursuit of luxury and fame be a form of survival or the very thing that destroyed her? Even after the royal invitations stopped, her craving for high living never faded. She often claimed to be broke, yet continued attending elite parties, draped in designer outfits, surrounded by wealth and celebrity. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. Royal experts say her life has followed the same predictable cycle for decades: charm the rich, secure the deal, burn the bridge, then reinvent herself before the fallout settles. Every time one version of Fergie collapsed, another rose from the ashes. Newly branded, slightly wiser, but always unmistakably her. In recent years, she has reinvented herself again as the modern survivor. Through podcasts, social media, and carefully managed interviews, she speaks the language of empowerment, resilience, and healing. She presents herself as someone who has faced every humiliation and emerged stronger. Yet beneath the motivational tone lies an uncomfortable irony: a woman preaching control and balance while her finances remain in disarray. Her public image shifted again when she revealed her battle with cancer, earning an outpouring of sympathy. Many admired her openness and saw bravery where there had once been chaos. But others quietly wondered if she was once again turning personal pain into public narrative, a new chapter in her long campaign to stay visible and relevant. The question remains: how does she still afford her lifestyle? Despite years of debt, unpaid loans, and failed ventures, Sarah continues to live comfortably. In one revealing interview, when asked about a $40,000 payment she'd accepted during a previous scandal, she admitted taking the money, but insisted she returned it once she realized it was problematic. That moment perfectly captured her story: a constant dance between desperation and denial, guilt and justification. Insiders whisper that wealthy friends still quietly fund her, keeping her afloat behind the scenes. Others speculate she's preparing one final explosive comeback, a tell-all memoir exposing royal secrets for a huge payday. After decades of turmoil, the temptation may simply be too great to resist. Yet, despite everything, the scandals, the debts, the disgrace, Sarah Ferguson always finds her way back into the spotlight. Every time the world counts her out, she reappears smiling, armed with a new story. But now, with the loss of Royal Lodge, dwindling brand deals, and fading public sympathy, this reinvention might be her last. As one former royal aide put it, Sarah's greatest love was never Andrew. It was the lifestyle, and she'll do almost anything to keep it. Her downfall wasn't a single dramatic collapse, but a slow, steady unraveling over decades. Every luxury purchase, impulsive business move, and public apology chipped away at her reputation. Her charm carried her far, but the pattern of misjudgment always caught up. What remains is a life defined by both glamour and warning, a long descent into chaos. And what truly drove her to risk it all? Obsession, desperation, or something darker, the debt that refuses to die. One longtime advisor summed her up best: Every failure was just another chance to start over, as long as someone else paid the bill. It was that same mindset that led her to the most destructive association of her life, Jeffrey Epstein. The name alone would soon send tremors through the monarchy. The Duchess of York was removed as patron of a children's hospice after her email links to the convicted sex offender became public. The charity said it would be inappropriate for her to continue. That year was supposed to mark Sarah's comeback, a chance to rebuild her public image, but it ended in ruin. Just as the sting of her hidden camera bribery scandal was fading, another headline exploded: Fergie took money from Epstein. Emails revealed that she had accepted a payment from the disgraced financier to cover personal debts. The publicly confirmed amount was $15,000, but whispers suggested much more. Some claimed as high as $2 million. It was never about the money, said one journalist who investigated the story. It was about access, introductions, power. The palace, already shaken by her past scandals, went into silent panic. Every link, every email, every meeting suddenly looked dangerous. Epstein's name carried a darkness that would later engulf more than just Sarah Ferguson. But for now, it was her reputation, already fragile, that took the blow. Calm but visibly shaken, she admitted accepting the payment, claimed she repaid it, and apologized. But the damage was irreversible. To the public, it wasn't about numbers. It was about judgment and desperation. Those who knew her said she always believed she could charm her way out of anything, that no door was ever fully closed if she smiled at the right person. But this time, her charm failed her. The association with Epstein wasn't just a scandal. It was a stain. It clung to her name like a shadow she could never escape. And the question that has haunted her ever since remains, how did she fall so far? And why does she always seem drawn to danger? Because in Sarah Ferguson's world, salvation and scandal have always been intertwined, and every rescue comes with a price.